A man went to the doctor and told him he had survived a plane crash, 40 days in the jungle and being attacked by a shark. The doctor was skeptical, thinking that the patient was delusional or exaggerating. But after examining him, the doctor realized that the man was telling the truth. The man's incredible survival story unfolded, leaving the doctor in awe. Let's delve into this remarkable tale. The man sat down in the doctor's office, his eyes filled with a mix of pain and weariness. As he began his story, the doctor listened intently, unsure of what to expect. It all started when I was on my way back from a business trip, the man began. I was traveling alone in a small plane. It was a beautiful day for flying. The skies were clear, and there wasn't a cloud in sight. But then suddenly, without any warning, the engine started sputtering and the plane began to lose altitude. His voice shook as he recalled the terrifying moment. We were in the middle of nowhere. The nearest airport was at least 30 miles away, and there was no way we were going to make it there with the engine sputtering like that. He looked at the doctor, his face etched with the memory of that fateful day. That's when I knew I was in trouble. I had never been in a plane crash before. I didn't know what to do. The man paused, taking a deep breath to steady himself. But I had no choice but to try to land the plane in the forest below us. It was risky, very risky. But it was either that, or a certain death by crashing into the ground. So I did the only thing I could think of. I put the plane into a steep descent, and aimed for a clearing in the forest. Somehow, miraculously, we managed to land safely. The doctor nodded, absorbing the man's harrowing tale. Plane crashes were not uncommon, and he had seen his fair share of patients who had survived them. But this man's story was far from over. There was more to come, much more. When I regained consciousness, I found myself lying in a dense jungle, surrounded by the wreckage of the plane. The man continued. I was badly injured, my arm was broken, and blood was streaming down my face from a deep cut. But the biggest problem was that I had no idea how long I'd be stranded there. My radio was destroyed in the crash, and I had no way of contacting the outside world. I was alone in the middle of a vast jungle, with no food or water. I knew I had to get out of there as soon as possible, but my injuries were making it difficult. Each step I took sent searing pain through my body, and the jungle seemed to stretch endlessly in all directions. I didn't know where to go or which way would lead me to safety. Days turned into weeks and my injuries began to take a toll on my body. I lost hope. I thought I would never escape the jungle alive. The man looked up at the doctor, his eyes pleading for understanding. Then one day, I spotted something in the distance. It was a small village. I gathered the last of my strength and started walking towards it. When the villagers saw me, they were shocked. They had never seen anyone emerge from the jungle alive after so many days. They rushed to my aid, bringing me water and food and helping me to walk. And when I finally reached their village, they took me in, gave me shelter, and most importantly, medical attention. He paused, his voice trembling with emotion. If it hadn't been for them, I wouldn't have made it. I owe my life to those kind people. The doctor leaned forward, intrigued by this man's resilience. How could anyone survive 40 days in the jungle and still be alive? And what could possibly happen next? He waited patiently for the man to continue his story. The man took another deep breath and pressed on, but my ordeal was not over yet. After recovering from my injuries in the village, I decided to return home. I thought I had survived the worst of it, but I was wrong. As I was walking along the beach near my home, I felt a searing pain in my leg. I looked down and saw that I had been bitten by a shark. The shark had sunk its teeth deep into my leg, and the wound was bleeding profusely. I tried to pull the shark off me, but it was too strong. It dragged me further into the water. He looked at the doctor, his eyes wide with terror. I was terrified. I thought I was going to drown. But somehow I managed to free myself from the shark's grasp and swim back to shore. When my wife saw the state I was in, she rushed me to the hospital. That's when I met you. As the man finished his story, the doctor was left speechless. This man had survived a plane crash, 40 days in the jungle, and a shark attack. It was unbelievable, yet the man's injuries and the subsequent medical care provided evidence to support his every word. The doctor examined the man's wounds, each telling a story of survival against all odds. The scars on his arm from the plane crash were still fresh, a testament to the day he fought for his life. The deep gash on his face had almost healed, but it was clear that this was a man who had stared death in the face and emerged victorious. And then there were the wounds on his leg, fresh and open, the marks left by the shark's powerful jaws. The doctor's mind raced, trying to comprehend such resilience. How could this man survive such traumatic events and still be alive? It was baffling. Yet here he was, sitting in front of him, his eyes filled with gratitude and a hint of disbelief even to himself. After stitching up the man's wounds, the doctor returned to his office. He couldn't shake off the feeling of awe that this patient had inspired in him. As he pondered over the case, he couldn't help but admire the sheer tenacity of the human spirit. In his years of practice, he had seen countless injuries, but this case was different. It was a stark reminder of the unpredictability of life and the incredible strength of the human will to survive. Suddenly, the doctor had an idea. He wanted to document this case, to share the incredible story of survival with the medical community. He knew that it would be a story that stayed with him for the rest of his career. Picking up the phone, he began making calls, reaching out to medical colleagues, eager to discuss this fascinating case. He wanted to hear their thoughts, to see if anyone could offer an explanation for the man's incredible resilience. Meanwhile, the man recovered under the doctor's care. As his wounds healed, he recounted his tale to anyone who would listen. The people in the small town were captivated by his story. They had never heard anything like it before. The man's bravery and determination were an inspiration to them, a testament to the power of the human spirit. As word of his survival spread, people from neighboring towns and villages came to hear his tale. Soon, the man became a local hero, his story a legend in the making. Days turned into weeks, and the doctor's investigation yielded interesting results. Many doctors he spoke with were intrigued and wanted to meet the man. They came to the small town, eager to examine a patient who had survived what most would consider impossible. For the doctor, it was a unique experience. He found himself part of a community fascinated by a story that seemed straight out of an adventure movie. Each new visitor brought with them new ideas, new theories about the man's survival. Some were awestruck by his physical endurance, others marveled at his mental fortitude, and some were simply in disbelief, wondering if the man was truly telling the truth. Through it all, the man remained humble. He knew that he had received extraordinary care from the doctor and the people of the town. He understood the interests surrounding his case, but he also knew that his survival was nothing short of a miracle. As time passed, the doctor began to piece together the puzzle of the man's survival. He realized that it wasn't just one thing that allowed this man to survive, but a combination of factors. The man's physical health, his mental resilience, the help he received from the villagers, and the sheer will to live all played a part in his survival. It was a rare case study in human resilience, and the doctor knew he was fortunate to be a part of it. The news of the miraculous survival spread far and wide. Medical journals featured articles about the case, using it as a study to understand the human body's extreme capabilities. People from all over came to visit the man, eager to meet the living legend. And the small town, once a quiet and secluded place, became a hub of activity as curious onlookers and medical experts descended upon it. In the midst of all this attention, the man remained grounded. He knew that while his survival was remarkable, it was his everyday life that truly mattered. With his health restored, he went back to his normal routine, always grateful for the second chance he had been given. For the doctor, the case of the man who survived a plane crash, 40 days in the jungle, and a shark attack remained a defining moment in his career. It was a constant reminder of the incredible mysteries of the human body and the indomitable spirit that resides within us all. And so the tale of the man who was too weak to die continued to be told, not just in the small town where it happened, but around the world. It was a story that transcended geographical boundaries, a story of survival against all odds.